Hello again to another Agricolor Reacts with Eric.
Hello.
Sorry.
Problem.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Anyway, today we'll be watching Why a Cat Always Lands on Its Feet. Sorry again. By Vox. I'm just gonna have to sit like this.
Yeah, keep your hands.
Like you.
Keep your hands to yourself.
Just like you.
I do for self-defense.
He's very ticklish.
Yeah.
And I love that.
So I walk around
Yeah.
like this.
Anyway. So it's by Vox. It's from 2019. And it's a cat. It's about cats. So maybe you're gonna learn why the cat's always landing on 4 feet. So let's
Well, I
just
can
go.
always try it with our cats. Put them out the window so they land on their feet.
Excuse me.
No.
Do you want me to try to throw you out the window? See if you land on the 4 feet? Let's see
4
about
feet.
that
I've
then.
got 4 feet.
You're gonna have them when you go on it.
True. That's true. You always catch yourself.
Oh. Okay. And just go. I'm not sure what happened there now.
This is the first live cat recorded on film, and it's being dropped to solve a physics problem. Why do cats always land on their feet? It's a question that was driving 19th century scientists nuts until one of them used an unexpected tool to solve the mystery. A camera. Etienne Jules Mouret was an obsessive scientist and inventor who analyzed how things moved. And he started experimenting with photography at a time when the medium was mostly used to document static subjects. But his goal was to capture motion. And he did that by building on a basic principle of photography, exposing a photosensitive material to light and then covering it in darkness.
So his way of creating this darkness and light was to have a disc.
Yeah.
Did you understand the static objects?
Yeah, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? Stuff that doesn't move.
Oh, okay. Just for the audience, those who don't know, static is something that's always there. Dynamic is something that changes.
Aww.
Just in case you didn't know.
Okay.
Sorry. All right.
With
Different.
slots in it.
By controlling the light as the subject moved across the frame, Mouret was able to record movement onto a single glass plate.
Essentially, all he does is block that light intermittently. A slot from the disc opens, and then there's darkness as the man moves, opens, darkness.
This technique is called chronophotography, and the results show something human eyes will never see on their own: individual stages of motion. A couple years later, Kodak introduced celluloid film, and Mouret updated his slot camera in a crucial way. He swapped the single glass plate with a roll of film that moved in between exposures.
So light, an image is made, darkness, the film moves on, light, an image. So it's a movie camera is what it is.
Mouret made a lot of films for research purposes and even tried dropping other animals to see if they'd land on their feet, specifically this rabbit and this chicken. Which brings us back to the cat. It seems to be able to right itself by flipping in the air without pushing off anything first, which would contradict the law of conservation of angular momentum. Sounds scary, but stick with me here. One of Newton's laws of motion says that something in motion can't just stop itself unless an opposing force acts upon it. Basically, you can't just change direction mid-air, Wile E. Coyote style. But to the naked eye, it looks like a cat can. Most people assume the cat was cheating by kicking off the hands of the person dropping it, but Mouret's film showed what's actually happening. The first few frames prove right away that the cat doesn't start its rotation from a kick, but what it does do is arch its back.
And by arching its back, it's divided its body into a front part and a back part. And the two parts can work independently.
You know how a figure skater pulls their arms in to rotate faster? That's what's happening here too. Early in the rotation, the cat pulls its front legs in and leaves the back splayed out so the front half can rotate quickly while the back half stays relatively still. Then halfway through, it does the opposite. Front legs stretched out, back ones tucked in to flip the other half of its body around.
And you notice by the time the cat is landing, all four legs are stretched out as far as they can be, which means slow rotation. So the cat has rotated itself, but not overall. The two halves are working in opposite ways.
It uses the inertia of its own body weight to spin each side. And because the two spins operate separately in opposing directions, they cancel each other out. So Newton's law isn't broken. Murray published his findings in Nature in 1894, breaking down the falling cat problem for the first time. His work remains an early example of using photography for scientific discovery.
What does photography do for science? It records something and it makes it permanent so you can analyze it later or so you can share it. But what Murray did was show something that the eye could not possibly see, ever.
You might have seen another famous early example of motion photography. In 1878, Edward Muybridge used 12 cameras connected to tripwires to prove that a horse lifts all 4 feet off the ground at some point in a gallop.
Huh. Oh! No! Okay, actually, that's the last one. So,
Right at its end.
Yeah, just at the end.
That was interesting.
It was, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you learn something new?
I did. Yeah.
I'm quite impressed about how, the late 19th century, early 20th century was kind of very interesting in science way. How what they could use and stuff. How they could do about science, go about science and stuff like that. Like this guy he wanted to prove something explain why the cats land on the 4 feet when they're falling. And he just used something that was new in there. Like, he actually made his own thing, isn't it? Pretty much, because that's what they say. He was using something else. And then the Kodak came out with the film.
Yeah. I believe they took photography with glass. And
Yeah.
glass. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I took photography in high school where
No, I didn't.
they already had a course. Photography paper. And when the sun hits that part of the paper, it catches the shadow and changes the... Not a pixel is digital, but on the paper it changes
something like that.
a side of gray, like a darker gray, lighter gray, and it forms a picture. So every picture you see is actually like a drawing, only in high detail.
Yeah, even none
Like
of
you- Even this video, it's actually a drawing of us. So,
Hi.
instead of paper, they're using
Digital stuff. Yeah. Pixels and
pixels and all that stuff.
which is,
All sort of stuff. But I mentioned this before that like a voice on a telephone isn't actually our voice. It's a computer mocking or trying its best to interpret our voice.
It's a computer now, but what about the phones before? What was then? If you say it wasn't a voice.
Pretty sure it's computers still.
It wasn't. I don't think it was computers.
So I know they changed lines and connect. They didn't use vibrating to make the vocal cords. A vibrating line. Make the voice. What do you call that? Telephone game? Have 2 cups and a wire.
Yeah.
And you speak into it and it vibrates. And you can hear the other person.
Yeah. I thought that was it.
Yeah.
It's just going to the metal wire, so. I
Thousands.
don't know. You know what? This is something. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
it
look
is,
for.
it is,
You're
it
gonna
is.
look for it in some future videos. We're gonna watch that explanation, how the phones worked back in the day, and how they work now. Actually, because do you know how they work?
No.
No. Yeah, exactly. So, guys, did you learn something new? Did you know why the cat's landing on 4 legs?
Let's go try it. Shadow. Come here, Shadow.
I don't know how she look. She's laying on something, but her legs are underneath it.
Like a chicken.
Yeah.
Or a rooster.
Yeah. Alright. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow, and you'll see Eric next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.